The Angels took 2 out of 3 against a really good Reds team, and we were talking about before the show how competitive the MLB has been so far in 2.5 weeks. The Angels always seem to become so competitive early on and then fade out, but they have a bright spot right now in Jose Soriano, and I just wanna get your thoughts overall and discuss his excellence because I think that is another way a team could, make a level up is to have an ace like Jose Soriano who's just continued it.
Absolutely, yeah. So Angels, the hitting's kind of getting there. You're getting the production from like Soler, Adele, Trout, and then obviously Neto's really hot. But this is something they haven't had for so long. Is a guy, a dominant number one that can go get you basically a W every 5 games. That helps a lot when you're trying to avoid the midseason, late midseason slumps of June and July. When you do get into those games that you just can't really get anything from your bullpen, it's huge to have that reliable Cy Young type of ace that can come in. I don't want to put him in the Cy Young yet because it's so early, but I mean, he's definitely looking on track to at least be talking about that for not this, if not just this year, but years to come. So more of what I saw, especially with the Braves performance last, I think it was last Sunday, not this Sunday, but the past one, where he went off, had like 10 Ks, and I was kind of watching that game and wanted to really keep an eye on him, and then dominated again this week. So, more of the same. The competitiveness in the MLB is terrific right now. I think especially going towards a lockout year, that's kind of what you need because we can kind of see who's on top. So we can kind of help regulate the MLB, make it a little more even. But just talking about the Angels and Jose Soriano, great start. Looks like they're on their way to at least like a 500 year or competing around that end.
Yeah, and we can only hope, right? The story could tell so much and, only 16 games played, but it kind of seems like that they've kind of figured something out regarding to their ace. And that's something that we can, both agree on. Soriano right now has a .333 ERA record. Hitters are hitting 148 against them and the 62% ground ball rate, which is top 5 in MLB. A lot of great metrics across the board. And for an Angels team yesterday that, kind of slugged their way to victory yesterday in a high scoring 96 game against the Reds, like you said, there's some, new guys that are in the mix, but you're right. The Angels have never had a starting pitcher that can go deep in the games, has ace quality stuff. Maybe Otani, but Otani also didn't pitch a lot for them. He was always injured.
Yeah.
One point I do want to make is the emergence of Jorge Soler has been, he seems like another guy that the Angels can count on. I know the numbers don't look as great as they are, but he's a power bat. And right now he's kind of just, spraying the ball all over the yard and just raking. A lot of homers, a lot of hard hit contact off his bat right now. Mike Trout has kind of slowed down a little bit, batting 208, but I don't expect him to be that bad for that long. They have Vaughn Grisham that just kind of came up for them. I'm excited to see what he could do because he was,
Yeah.
remember a top 100 prospect, just bounce up and down the lineup. But what else do you see in this Angels team that we haven't discussed?
I think I see a pot. This is hot, but I think in the next 5 years we could see a top five MVP candidate in Zach Neto. The way the dude hits the ball is different from the shortstop position. I think of him as a right-handed Corey Seager. Kind of reminds me of like a similar type of pop. He can basically do anything on a baseball field and also has a very underrated glove. Good, great speed. I won't even say good, great speed on the bases. He'll steal you 30, 40 bags. Honestly, it sucks for him. He hit so many extra base hits that he probably would steal 50, 60 more, like 50, 60 bags if he was more of like a conventional leadoff hitter. He just honestly has so much alley pop, and especially like warning track pop that he just is going to run into home runs and doubles. But he's trying to hit the ball on the ground. That's just how beautiful his swing is. That dude and Jose Soriano is the future of that team. I'm curious to see. Joe Adell's a great addition. Like guys like Joe Adell, Nolan Shonowell, those are great guys to fill in those other spots. Growing up, Vladdy was my favorite player, so I've always had an affinity towards the Angels. I've always gravitated towards the Angels, so it's really nice to see them kind of fill in the cracks in. I don't think they're like at the same level as the Pirates, but I think they're kind of similar in the fact that they're starting to get their footing. Some of their prospects are starting to hit, and then we'll see where they go going forward. And the less pressure you can put on Mike Trout, the better. You just want to keep them healthy, and you want to give them a playoff series at this point, another one. So
For
we'll
for
see what
sure.
happens.
Yeah, and the Angels, like you said, they're not quite towards Pirates territory, but we could possibly say, they're kind of in the Nationals territory, where
Yeah,
they're just overcoming expectations. Like we both kind of written them off before the season even started. They have nice pieces around the board. Like you said, Zach Neto, looking at his stuff right now, He's a 5 batting run value right now, which is 93 percentile. And also, like you said, that your point that he doesn't steal enough bases because he steals a lot of bases, but he could steal more if he doesn't hit so many extra base hits. And you're right, he had 26 home runs a year ago and 26 stolen bases, and he's an extra base hit machine, consistently around almost 800 OPS. So he's going to slug and he's going to continue to provide offense for this team, and he is the future of this ball club. And for an Angels team that has been looking for somebody to not just one player, but another player to complement Mike Trout, multiple. And they, like you said, they have Shonwell, Josh Lau, who came over from the Rays. He could be
Great,
potentially
great
somebody,
pickup.
even though he's just like, slowly getting into things. Oh, Hoppy, could he turn it around? They have guys up and down the board. They just need to figure it out.
Yeah, and they need to get rid of Moncada.
For sure. Yohan Moncada, he's just not
But everybody's
for sure. Right now, I mean, Cleveland,
who'd you
we've
rather
got a
have,
few guys.
Jazz? Who'd you rather have, Jazz or Yohan Moncada?
I'd still pick Jazz, honestly. I think both of them are
Yeah, but
so
you
bad right
thought
now.
about it. But you
Yeah,
thought about it for a second. That's how bad Jazz is. That you had to think about that.
yeah. Well,
I just
we're
had
gonna
to
why not?
work
Let's
Jazz.
move in the Jazz's team real quick. The New York Yankees. The fellas, they got swept and I mean, there's buzz right now, Brian, in the American League Central. Both of us were talking about how New York could run away with it because when we were talking about it, they were 5-6 game. They had a 5-6 game lead, in our last
Nice.
episode, or 4 game lead, something like that, pretty high. But anyways, man, the Rays outscored them 15-9. They swept them yesterday 5-4. The Yankees bullpen has just continued to struggle in just the early goings. 6.75 ERA. The Rays bullpen always continues to dominate with 2.25. But man, this just a lot of head scratching stuff from the Yankees. And I just want to ask, are you a little concerned about, they've lost a couple in a row now? I know it's early, but the way that things have been moving with, them playing real contending teams recently, could you be concerned about them?
Yeah, I mean, the hitting's very concerning because you knew the pitching was gonna come back down to earth. Like, they're gonna have to mash 5, 6 runs a game to get to 95, 100 wins, and right now, they just are not getting consistent at bats. Judge is slow to start. I mean, I think he homered the other night, but, he's been slow to start, and if your pitching is gonna do this, they don't have, like, the best fielding in the world to, like, save a bunch of runs, so they're gonna need strikeouts, they're gonna need easy outs. Right now, I mean, the Rays just look really good, and this could be the AL East. I think it's just gonna be a lot of teams. It's gonna be like a NASCAR race, constantly a car getting ahead of the other, and then one from the back. Like we could look in like May, and all of a sudden the Red Sox are on top, or we can look and the Orioles are on top in June. It's just it's almost it's kind of like it's almost similar to an SEC in football in a sense where like there's like 5 teams. It's not really like a Big Ten where there's like 2 or 3 like top teams. I think it's just gonna be a lot of teams kind of changing, almost passing the baton. But the Yankees, I'm getting a little worried, but we did see how hot their pitching was. But I mean, it could be a little bit of the schedule. Starting with the Giants is a good boost for the pitching staff because that offense stunk. But um, for the most part, I think it's gonna be like this with the AL East.
Yeah, then Yankees had lost 5 in a row. They started the year 7-1. Just wanna make that point out. Like you said, nobody's really gotten going offensively. Looking at the roster right now, Trent Grisham, 528 OPS. Ben Rice is the only one that's been hitting,
Sunrise.
1.25 OPS. Judge, 783, kind of getting into a groove, but he's only batting 218. He homered the other night, like you said. Cody Bellinger, 690. Jazz Chisholm, 501, batting 179. That's gotta
Disrespectful.
that
The way he
for the way he's talking and also the way that he played a year ago, went 30-30. Now he wants to go 50-50. He was a big asset to the team. I know right now he isn't, but I mean, that's a significant drop off in production for, the first month. It's a slow start, right? Obviously things can pick up, but if Ahmed Rosario is second in your team in OPS, I think you have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this would be great if 5 other guys were hitting, right?
Yeah.
And then he just happened to hit, but yeah, you can't. It's same thing as Luis Robert on the Mets, you can't rely on that. You
No,
just
for sure.
you can't, and those guys, if they get hot like that and then they stop, that's why those guys aren't starters and mainstays because 'cause they're gonna get in their head, and they're gonna get fucked up. There's a reason Jose's starting to look better and better every at bat is because
Mhm.
he knows he has a long body of work. These guys are new situation, short-term contracts. They want to get going quick, so we'll see. Like nothing would make me happier than the Yankees just to tunnel out, but AL East is just tough.
Yeah, and right now everybody is only Red Sox and I believe the Blue Jays both 2 games out of first place right now in the American League East. They have a three-way tie with the Rays, the Yankees, and the Orioles, both sitting at 8 and 7. Just a lot of competitiveness in this division. All these teams are going to beat each other up. Right now, I know for the run differential nerds out there, I don't know if you're one of them. Right now, the Rays are at -10 run differential, but I don't think this sweep was a fluke, dude. And part of that reason is the way Chandler Simpson's been hitting. Dude is just, he reminds me a little bit of Kenny Lofton, right?
Yeah.
Guy can steal a lot of bases, just so fast. There's doubles and their triples. Probably one of the biggest game changers you can have. I know he doesn't hit home runs, but the OPS speaks for itself right now because he's not just, slugging, but he's turning singles into doubles, man. And that's the only way you could slug for a speedster, right? I had 3 hits yesterday in the final game. Junior Caminero, we know what he can do, man. He is just a stud. He's continuing to just, thrive in his year 3 with the Rays. Another guy that hasn't really been talked about a lot this year, and I think you and I always talk about it, but Yandy Diaz, man, has just continued to be a threat in this lineup. For the Rays, what do you think that they need to do to continue to
Well, Oscar's pissed.
No, that was Lucy.
Oh, that was Lucy. Lucy's pissed. So one thing too, I want to add, I really do like how Jonathan Aranda's playing so far. His average is a little low. His OBP is not great. But he is producing a ton of runs better than when you have a guy like Chandler Simpson, if you can get him home once or twice a game, you're probably gonna win that game. Like that's just such an advantage to have a guy like that, like you mentioned. Yandy Diaz looking great, Junior Caminero looking great. Like Mullins is a nice addition glove wise. He hasn't really hit. But other than that, like being now, like Nick Fortes has hit really, really well out of the catcher's position so far. In 310. You also got like Taylor Walls off the bench and a 333 average. They have their big guys, and then they have their kind of platoon, very similar to the tribe, 4 or 5 main hitters, and then the rest you platoon. Pitching's not been great, or I should say the starting pitching hasn't been great. Bullpen's been really good. They've shut it down. Good amount of holds, good amount of especially against the Yankees, good amount of ERA, good amount of strikeouts during that series. So I think more of that with the Rays. They're going to bomb. They're going to have a good bullpen. Probably not going to have the best starting rotation of all time. But if Chandler Simpson is hitting, you know, 300, stealing 60 bases, Junior has 40 home runs, Miranda has 100 RBIs, Andy Diaz has almost 200 hits. I could see this team making the playoffs for sure. That's a
Yeah,
good recipe for the playoffs.
for sure, man. I think that, the pitching, like you said, is off to a slow start, but that's, it's the Rays, man. We know what they can do. They're going to turn it on eventually. The only guy that really has been producing at a high level for their starting rotation, Drew Rasmussen, pitching to a 1.13 right now, gave up 1 hit against the Yankees, pitched 6 scoreless innings. Dude's just continued to shove and been reliable for the Rays for quite a while now. Like you said, Taylor Walls, too, another guy that not a lot of people have been talking about. Just continuing to rate, batting 333, switch hitting, shortstop. He's been there for a while, and he's kind of now getting his everyday opportunity to play shortstop with Carson Williams struggling out of the gate. So there is a lot of things to, you know, take a peek at. And Nick Fortes too. I think this is a point I want to make before we move on to the Nationals, which is our next segment. Is dude, this might be the year of the offensive catcher, right? Drake Baldwin, we've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
breaking, dude. Shane Bangaliers Langoliers is going crazy. Austin Hedges is going crazy. Like this is the year of the catcher.
Austin Hedges.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. We've seen a big shift in how important that's become to a ton of different positions. I mean, Hoppy's always had that type of bat, but that's another one. Um,
but he really isn't having.
oh my
He
God,
hasn't gotten going either.
who's the dude in Houston? Why am I blanking?
Yunier Diaz.
Yainer
Yeah.
Diaz.
Mhm.
Yeah, Yainer Diaz. Yeah, that's another guy. Ruiz for the Nationals, the team we're about to talk about now. That's another guy that has a little bit of a bat. He's not hitting well to start the year, but he has that ability. So it's becoming I just don't think you can have a stick in the mud there. Like I never understood with like being okay with having like, oh, he's a catcher, he's a shortstop, he's a center fielder. He doesn't have
Yeah.
to have that much power. I'm like, why? Like why? Why is power excluded to certain positions? Like anybody on my team can hit. And then if you're a good hitting catcher, I will DH you 40 games a year.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
just gonna happen, Ask Buster Posey if that went well for
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw last year the Mariners though Cal Raleigh. He didn't catch every game, but he we saw him
him.
DH every
Yeah.
third day, every day game. Dude, but I'm excited. I think it's good for baseball that we're finally getting away from the defensive first player, right? And now everybody is
Mhm.
worrying about offensive production because that's great for the sport overall. We want to see more offense too. And we want to see more complete players, right? I don't think Austin
Absolutely.
Hedges is going to continue to hit like he is, but isn't that great for the sport, right? A guy that's one of the best
Absolutely.
defenders in baseball is now hitting. Like, I just think that stuff like that is great. Fortes, we were just talking about, is raking. Drake Baldwin, like, the more complete catcher. It's just kind of like I think a reemergence of the offensive catcher, like the Mike Piazzas, like guys like that again.
Yeah, Pudge Rodriguez, like, these
Mhm,
are legends that we grew up with watching the game. Yadier Molina, Buster
mhm,
Posey, Joe Mauer. I mean, these are guys that it's similar to a point guard, right?
mhm,
You don't need your point guard to be the best scorer on the team, but you would like him because he has the ball so much. The catcher's so important and in the lineup so much that you would like for him to at least produce something. Like, you can't have him be, 5 points per game, but if he's Rajon Rondo, then that's fine. You don't have to have him be Steph Curry, but you still need him to be a producer in the like, it's just such a there's a reason so many catchers become managers. It's literally the most important part of the game because 'cause I've said this a couple times, it's the only facet of the game that you deal with every part of baseball: base
mhm.
running, pitching, fielding, hitting. So and as somebody that caught and then pitched, I mean, the only reason I ever had any inkling of solid to okay pitching was because I caught. So catching, like, you just need that guy to be so important in the clubhouse, and, it shows with Hedges, with the Tribe, it shows with these other teams how important these catchers are, um, in the clubhouse, and it's fun to see, and shout out to Adley Rushman as well, he's starting to come out of his shell a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I just wanted to make that point out. I know you and I are both very big on, we were talking about it even before all these shows, the difference between having a catcher or having somebody that can hit instead of a guy like a Miles Straw or somebody being a major hole in your liability in your lineup. We're kind of seeing that with our team for a while. There's always like multiple of those guys. But moving on to the Nationals, man, and this is a team that I've been excited about for years, wondering if they'll ever break out of the rebuild. They have so much talent, position players wise, kind of pitching a little bit, but not as much as previous years. But man, they swept the Milwaukee Brewers, who we're both very high on. It's Death Taxes and the Brewers winning the NL Central for us, and they have guys that are raking. Obviously, we know James Wood is there, but CJ Abrams, dude, a guy that's going to be a name float around at the deadline if the Nationals are not even in contention right now. But there's some new names filing from the mud here, dude. I just want to talk about the Nationals for a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a team of a lot of young guys, and they all do something really well. Like, James Wood's gonna produce that power, he almost has 40 total bases. Jay Abrams is just an all-around great player, having a great start to the year. Then you have guys like Dalian Lyle, who's just has, like, quietly 18 hits leading the team, which is just so quiet. Only has he has 0 home runs, 5 RBIs, but just getting on base, 9 runs scored, getting home. Brady House is having a good start to the year. Luis Garcia's hitting the shit out the ball. Joey Weimer off the bench, kind of platoning's been great. WBC Aussie legend Curtis Meads had a really good year, or a really good start to the year as well. This is all without, you know, one of the highest prospects that I can imagine being drafted in Dylan Cruz up right now. And I mean, this is a team that think if they had, Wyatt Langford, think if they had Kyle Teal, think if they had Jacob Wilson, think if they had Nolan Shonowell, think if they had Ralph, well, he wouldn't be up right now, but you get the point. They didn't necessarily have their guy up exactly the right time they want, and they're still really heating up. So, it's always been a good organization. They always build. I think now it's time to put I think it's similar to what the Marlins do. I think you're done selling. I don't think you need to sell anybody. I know we talked about CJ Abrams. I know they're going to get a package. If they can't keep him, then yeah, there's always a difference between selling and then rebuilding through a guy like that. Like, they could get enough AAA, MLB type players in return, something like that. But for the most part, I think this team has to go to that Miami Marlins level of trying to get to competing in August and September. Once you get the taste of important August and September games, you don't wanna get rid of that. Everybody takes it for granted. Everybody, when it's late July and we're, like, 9 games back, they're like, "Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter." But, like, to be 4 or 5 games back in September, Like that changes the whole atmosphere of the stadium, changes the team, changes the ballpark workers. Baseball's always been like a magical, weird sport like that, and you have to get the ball rolling eventually. You have to physically push the ball down the "I am now trying to win" train. So until they do that and fully sell into that, and I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs in the next 2 years, but until they do that, then they're going to keep running the same cycle. But how they look right now is really, really nice because they just have a ton of fun young guys to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And dude, the one thing that really jumped out to me, watching this series is the bullpen's improvement. They had the worst bullpen in all baseball last year. The pitching to 284. And another thing too, man, is Foster Griffin. We talked about this before the show. 30-year-olds bounced around in the majors, went to the KBO, and then has came over and just kind of dominated in 15 in a third innings, 12 Ks, pitching to a 1.76 ERA. Been a reliable guy up there with Zach Littell too. So they have two guys that can anchor the front of the rotation. Another guy I want to, pick up on and just shit on Yankee fans is Yorbert Vivas. If you remember Yorbert Vivas coming up early in the year last year for the Yankees, he's raking right now, batting 333 at 786 OPS. I know it's early, but uh, dude, like you said, they have guys up and down this lineup. Just so many talented guys. Nunez, their second baseman, that they really like. He's off to a slow start, but he has a lot of potential. Dylan Lyle, like you said as well, slow start, but he's leading the team in hits. That's only going to, produce at some point. But like you said, it's just a matter of time until they figure out, they got to have a contention window somewhere. They can't just be like rebuilding for 12 plus years. I mean, the last World Series was in 19. That was the last time they made the playoffs, and they haven't been close since. They haven't been close
No, they were
since.
terrible
Yeah.
that COVID, even that COVID year. I know
Mhm.
it was only 60 something games, but they've not been having an inkling of competitiveness. And I mean, boy, this pitching staff though just does not strike people out, dude.
No,
Great.
not at all. It's a lot of pitch to contact, and I think that will eventually bite them.
God, dude, 73 walks already is wild.
That is crazy, and that was an issue for them a
And
year
they're still
ago.
winning. They're
Yeah.
still winning.
Well, that's because they're hitting, man.
Yeah,
Their lineup is so good, mixed with young guys, young potential. Um, it's just a matter of time. Like they got to go out and add some pitching. They got
shot.
Foster Griffin, Zach Littell, but they need more.
Absolutely. That's why, like, I know that's why I would have just tried to keep Gore. I don't know, it's the
Mhm.
whole thing. I mean, but shout out to Butera though. I mean, he's one of the I think he's the youngest manager
Yeah.
for the
Mhm.
Nationals. He's like 30 something. I'm telling you, like, that changes a lot. Like you see with the Angels, it changes a lot when you get a good young manager. And honestly, like I mean, you see it with Vogt. I know we always mention the guards, but as somebody too that like was younger than my head coach when I coached, there is something like baseball guys like do like having coaches around that same age because you hang out with people literally so long. But I can't even imagine how much time these guys spend together in an MLB season, like
Mhm.
from spring training through a postseason run. So I think something about these young guys. I think they're getting just like more cohesion. I think a lot of the young guys you see their teams playing together a lot. They might make mistakes, same as the young manager, like a Giants, but like everybody was freaking out about that whole Matt Chapman thing, but like that's probably the relationship they have because Patello's made it comfortable enough to where people can communicate like that. Like baseball is a
Mhm.
very direct sport. You need to know like how to communicate with your teammates and how everybody's best way to communicate is. So I think these young managers are just really doing a good job of kind of just putting their head down and playing ball. If there's one sport that, like, paper really doesn't matter at the end of the day, it's baseball because you played fucking 162 games. So just go out and keep playing, see how far it gets you. You might blink and it's July and you're 500. Shit, maybe you add a bullpen piece or two and you try to do a Reds thing. Like, who had the Reds making a wild card last year? It's like
Yeah.
just stay in
Exactly.
the hunt. Just stay in the hunt. You can lose it early, but you can't win it early. So just stay in the hunt.
Yeah, for sure. Just win and get in. That's all it takes, man. But I want to talk about a team that, last week we were both a little concerned on was the A's. Sorry, I keep saying Oakland. So used to saying that. But they're sitting at 8-7. They just swept the New York Mets. And the Mets, man, 7-9 right now. And it does not look pretty. It does not look pretty at all. But we're gonna start off talking about the A's. They scored 10 runs in this series and only allowed 3. Just keep that in mind.
Wild.
How dominant that pitching staff that we shit on for a while, their bullpen didn't give up a run. The Mets hit 180 or 198 against them, 27 strikeouts. And they only gave up 3 home runs. And dude, Aaron Savali's look good. Daniel Canu, their closer, 3 saves in 3 games. The A's are turning it around a little bit, sending a game over 500 in, a very competitive American League West right now. Let's talk A's baseball.
Yeah, man. I mean, they've had some really good wins the past couple days. Like a lot of close wins, a lot of real baseball wins, like like real baseball scores, like 4-2, 4-3, 3-1, 1-0. They had that 11-6 win. Mark Kotze's really getting these guys going after a rough start. I mean, some guys are really, really in the bed, but like Soderstrom kind of finally hit a couple home runs. He had a 2 home run game. Kurtz finally went yard yesterday for the first time. I mean, Wilson's just, I don't know where he's been. A lot of these guys aren't hitting right now, right? So what's the job of the pitching staff? Keep yourself in games, and they're doing more than enough of that. I am going to be a hater, and this is going to be really haterish. I think like the New York teams are real dog shit when it comes to hitting right now. So I
Mhm.
think that really helps. But the A's still got to throw strikes. Kudos to the A's. They're playing really good ball right now. And I mean, if Nick Kurtz and Soderstrom start hitting, I mean, Jacob Wilson's been fine. He's 250. It's not awful. But if like Lawrence Butler, Soderstrom, I'm just looking at the averages now, Rooker get going. I mean, obviously you got McNeil, Bangaliers we talked about. Max Muncy's playing great. For the Nationals that we just talked about, there's just a lot of offensive explosion potential there.
Yeah, dude. There is. And a guy like Jeff McNeil, who, won a batting title a couple seasons ago, starting to get going, and he's batting 7th for them. So I mean, they got so many guys up and down this lineup that continue to hit. Lawrence Butler
And they
hasn't
have
been
the
getting
best
going.
prospect in baseball too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And one thing I do want to point out, it took just a Nick Kurtz home run to beat the Mets. Freddie Peralta gave up 1 run loss. That's the game. That's why I love the game of baseball. Dude, Aaron
Right.
Savali's pitching a 1.72 ERA. And it's early. It's April, I know. And it's just shocking to me that, they have these veteran guys that they've signed and they're kind of pitching well, but the only ones that aren't is the bullpen, dude. The bullpen, if you look at the guys they used yesterday. Harris, 2.70 ERA, kind of the only one, but Scott Barlow's pitching for them. Otto, both of those guys, 5.14, 6.14 ERAs. I mean, the Mets offense has not done anything. They were 0 for 3 in runners in scoring position. So I could say that both of them just hitting like shit is the reason why they won, but I'm not taking credit away from the A's, dude. They banged, and Shane Langoliers, man, just banging home runs, continuing to slug it, man. He's a dog. He's a dog.
Think a lot of these teams like the Mets and the Yankees would benefit from. I know I keep harping on this, man, but I think the manager thing's so important. Like, I think not having, they just all seem like different moving parts on both New York teams. It just seems like one, like Bo's going left, Frankie's going down, this guy's going right, this guy's going northeast. Like, nobody's in the same direction with anything on these teams. And I know baseball is ultimately an individual game, and I've said this before, but like, you got to know your roles, and nobody knows their roles on this team. Like, but credit to the A's. Like, if you told me going into this series, oh, the Mets, gave up 10 home runs in this series to the A's. Okay, like that would make sense for a way to the A's to sweep them. Like the A's have done that before the past couple years. But to have basically like a pitching performance sweep them for you, that shows a lot of growth. That's kind of like if you had a high offensive octane team and you won a good defensive battle, in basketball or football. That shows that growth. So maybe this is kind of the first little sliver of hope towards that 500 season that I think they're really coveting. Because if you can get any momentum going into Vegas, just with being the new team and everything, and you're going to have the number 1 prospect probably coming up at that time, anything near competitive, this team's going to have a lot of fun. They can kind of get the same thing Vegas did with the hockey team. They started in, just went to the Stanley Cup, lost it their first year, always kind of played well, never stopped playing at that level. So sometimes if you can establish that in a new city, then that's your identity going forward. Similar to the Rams, like you see how the Rams kind of changed from
Mhm.
St. Louis to LA when we were growing up. So love what I'm seeing of the A's right now. Like we said, just love seeing other teams. Like love seeing a 40 to $50 million payroll take out a $300 million one in a sweep.
Yeah, like you said too, like, this is a culture change for them, right? Moving
Yeah.
over from Oakland where they've had so much negative attention and negative, I don't know, just play in the recent
Yeah,
years.
just negativity in
Yeah,
general. That's perfectly
exactly. I
said.
mean, you gotta think about too, like, the city of Oakland, and, like, I feel bad for, their fans losing on a baseball team, but, the city itself didn't really help them, right? They
No.
were in a bad position on and off the field, and they weren't getting any resources from the front office. They weren't getting any resources from the ownership. They weren't getting any resources from the city. So it was just a bad deal overall. Now thinking about, this team, a game over 500 in April, I know, but to like to our point is like if they could continue to build on this and have a above 500 or round 500 record, you're feeling pretty good about your position for the next 5 years with all these young guys kind of, hooping. It,
Yep.
they're off to slow starts, but like they're not like putting up terrible at bats. They're banging the ball. They're just
No.
unlucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just
No.
wanna
And
point that out. The pitching, though, needs to improve. They need to figure that out. We don't want them to be the Baltimore Orioles of old, right? We remember how the Orioles first came up when they had Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Heston Kjerstad, like, all those guys coming up at the same time. They never addressed the pitching, and then look what happened, a year ago. They lost almost 100 games. So, it's just thing that they need to figure out, and they're on that path to being a great ball club.
if they want to go bullpen heavy, I mean, I think a Rays style can work for them too. At the end of the day, like bullpens are offensive line. So, you can have like starting pitchers that look a lot like wide receivers. They can win you so many games, but there's only so much they can do. At the end of the day, man, like you're going to have more of your bullpen guys out there in big leverage moments than starters. Like that's just natural. So if they can get that part figured out and they can win these close games like this and they can have offensive explosions, like you said, guys are like Soderstrom's hitting the ball well. It's just going to guys. Like Rooker's having bad at bats. He will get out of it. He's a good hitter. He's a baseball junkie and a nut. He'll figure it out. Lawrence Butler, I don't know, but they don't really that's not a huge concern for me right now. Um but yeah, like the amount of guys that can just barrel the ball, this team could be terrifying. Like they could get really friggin' hot.
Yeah,
We'll see.
they can, especially they got a park factor too, right? Where they play at a minor league ballpark that kind of plays smaller. So eventually that when they heat up, that's going to help them a lot and take a lot of overs when they're playing there. But I just want to make that point out, man. I'm excited for this A's team. I'm excited to watch more of them. They're kind of living up to the hype, not a little bit, but eventually
Agree. I agree
they're
so far.
so far they're just like they're not hitting as much, but it's just, a matter of like once one guy gets going, the rest will follow, right? And they're kind of getting there. They've had some impressive wins so far. The Mets aren't awful. I know they're hitting like shit, but like you look at them like on paper, they should be a lot better than how they are right now.
Mhm,
But like
definitely.
we said, I mean, it's still early. And we can't write some teams off, right? So I'm excited about this Ace team.
Yeah,
Uh,
not to like make a I know I'm a comparison guy all the time, and I always make them, but they look like they could be like the Hornets to me. Like
mhm,
they could just be a team that kind of makes that next step. Because we're waiting for those couple teams. Who's going to make that next step? It's kind of the Pirates and the NL. Everyone's
yeah,
looking at. I think a lot of people are looking at the A's as that team or the Angels, and I personally think the A's have a better line, or the A's have better lineup. So
for sure. Yeah, no, I don't disagree there. And I just want to shift gears a little bit. Something that you and I were talking about before, the show even started in a lot during the weekend, dude. The Minnesota Twins, who I called trash, sitting 9-7, took a series away from the Toronto Blue Jays, and dude, they've won 7 out of their last 10. They're 7-3. The Tribe, though, we're going to talk about them too. We're gonna hit the AL Central as a whole. Both tied for the American League Central crown right now, and have both had the best records in the American League, sitting at 9-7. Cleveland's played some really good teams, so like sitting at 9-7 is very impressive for them. But I'm very impressed with the Twins, and we're going to start off with them. +8 run differential right now. Took the series yesterday against the defending American League champs. Hit me. What are your thoughts on the Twins so far?
yeah, like I don't think they've played terrible opponents either. Obviously, the guards have like an insane schedule to start the year, but I mean, I'm just shocked at how they're able to hit. Like, I'm so sick of Josh Bell. Like, I'm such a Josh Bell hater. But to his credit, like he is hitting the dog shit out the ball. And for Byron Bucks to be hitting 180 and you're 9-7, it's crazy. Guys like Trevor Larnett, Cody Clemens, Ryan Jeffers. I mean, Wallner, Keyshaw, like these guys are really getting good extra base hits to start the year. This team hits a lot of home runs and a lot of doubles. They have like 40 almost extra base hits in 10 games. So I mean they hit a lot of doubles and a lot of home runs. So Derek Shelton, new spot. Maybe that's good for him. Maybe the switch up kind of got him a fresh start. The pitching's been looking pretty good. And again, like you thought Buxton, Joe Ryan, right? And those guys aren't even pitching that great right now, compared to, or playing as great compared to other guys on their team. So that's a great sign if you're a Twins fan that, Joe Ryan's been okay. He hasn't Buxton's had a much slower start than Joe Ryan. However, once those guys get going and these other guys can maybe establish themselves, like I mean, the way Taj Bradley's pitching is just,
Just
dude, like how,
ridiculous.
like what, how in 21 innings he's only allowed 19 hits, no home runs, eight walks is beautiful to me, and then 12 Ks per nines. You talk about that a little bit because that's just, I mean, already has a 1.2 WAR. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah, he's a guy for the past couple of years that I've been looking at as like a potential breakout. He has the stuff. He's always had the stuff. Right now, his pitching run value is at a 5, and just taking out his stuff, tinkering right now. Like I've said, a lot of guys have been changing their arsenals and stuff. 48% fastball usage. It's sitting at 96 miles an hour. He has a nice split 21% of the time. That's been his out pitch.
It's a
Yeah, so 48% fastball, but he's upped his split usage to 21%, which is,
Ooh, that's good.
been his out pitch from. Yeah. So, and you've been seeing this a lot with a lot of pitchers, right? Using cutters more, which he is using at 20%, and splits. He's touching up there at 96, so we need something to slow it down. 90-mile-an-hour split is going to play like a pretty change up, but a splitter is just, going to change the eye level of the hitter, right? If you're throwing a lot of high fastballs, the splitter's going to start high and it's going to drop below the knee. And that's a lot what I see out of Taj Bradley. It's a lot of beautiful work of pitching, right? That's what a lot of analytics have ran away from, dude, is pitches like that to, the eye test, right? Is was what you call it when you watch players like that. And that is an eye test move. That is not an analytical move at all. It's something that he felt comfortable with, that he brought up to Twins pitching staff and was like, "Hey, I want to, use some of this stuff to my advantage," right? I saw a lot of success of using the splitter more often, and I'm just taking a look more and just off his previous year, right? 23% cutters was his second pitch, 39% fastballs. So that split going up, like I said, just deception of the hitter, right? Making them, think like this splitter is coming at me. This is a fastball low, but it's going below, and he's getting a lot of swing and misses and weak contact there. So that's a lot of the excellence from Taj Bradley that I see there. And honestly, if he continues the way he's been pitching, because he's not just been impressive, he's been dominant. And it's been a while, right? You can make inferences on pitchers through like 5 to 6 games, because one that doesn't tell you a story, but it tells you a trend, right? That tells you where they're going, where hitters see them. And if he continues, and he's pitched against some great lineups, don't get me wrong. I think he can be a potential Cy Young Award candidate at the end of the year because of his pedigree and because one, he's had the talent all along. There's no reason why he shouldn't have been this good for a while now.
Yeah, he always had the tools. Great Tampa Bay organization. I just think his pitching style just doesn't necessarily line up with how the Rays want to have their pitching style. I think that's where the guards just get a little better, more out of their pitching. They let their guys have their style, and then they develop them to their style. I mean, the Twins, and something I never really thought about was the Twins have always bombed the past 5, 6 years. Like they hit the ball. Derek Shelton being maybe one of the dumbest managers when it comes to hitting and developing hitting, to his credit, does a terrific job with pitchers. Maybe this is what the Twins needed, right?
Mhm.
Like kind of like if you go to an offensive air raid team and you need a defensive head coach. A lot of people think, oh no, you go with strength on strength. Well, maybe you try to match your weakness as high. You could try to raise that weakness as high as you can through other things. So I think Derek Shelton, obviously the catchers have a good relationship with the pitchers. They're making them feel comfortable. And this is a Twins team that they're playing different with Derek Shelton. It does seem like they're playing almost not pissed off, but like they're kind of all showing themselves like, hey, like we're all good baseball players. Like I know people talked about Twins teams with other guys, but we're real baseball players. Like a lot of Twins baseball has been smoke and mirrors and
Mhm.
hope, and then someone gets injured. And this is all without Pablo Lopez, too.
For sure.
That's a
Yeah.
huge difference. I mean, if they had him, Joe Ryan, Taj Bradley right now, and Pablo Lopez, that's a fucked up first
That's like
three. That's a great playoff series punch right there. So, credit to Taj and who's another guy that Derek Shelton was working with who has one of the best splitters in the game.
Paul.
So I think that I think that
It's a good point, dude.
I think that that's definitely once you made the splitter comparison, I think that was something that popped in my head. That was like I think Derek Shelton probably has helped a lot with I think just making guys comfortable. He really seems to let pitchers do their thing. Kind of this is kind of a weird way to say it, but kind of like, spread their wings and let them pitch the way they need to pitch. So that maybe this is what the Twins needed. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, they're playing a lot better than other AL Central teams. So maybe it'll be a Twins Guardians run to the end of the season like it used to be for years.
Yeah, like you said too, it's been their identity has been developing hitters for since
Mhm.
2019. It feels like they've had new guys come up. Uh, they had their young second baseman, Keishel, who's, shown a lot of flashes of being a really good hitter. I know he's only batting 213, but he's a top 5 prospect in baseball. Brooks Lee has looked really well.
Yep.
His at bats look good. The numbers don't say well, but he's got a 694 OPS. He'll figure it out. Ryan Jeffers is one of the best catchers in baseball. I love watching him hit. Another guy that I've liked a lot is Matt Wallner, but the Minnesota Moose is Coach Trev calls him on Talking Baseball. I want to just put that out. I want to keep that name here too. We're gonna call him that. Minnesota Moose has just kind of been like streaky, very streaky guy. He'll get home run happy and he'll strike out a lot. And he's in that scenario right now. He's not producing, but dude, watch out when Byron Buxton starts getting going. He's batting 182. Uh, Awesome Martin. I was a big fan of him coming out of college from Vanderbilt, but you and I both, we'd shit on him a lot, like off air. Dude's batting 300 right now. And he's kind of been,
Got
difference
10
maker.
one.
Yeah, he's
What's that?
walking more. So he's been a
OBP is
difference.
500. It's
Mhm.
crazy. Gets on base one out of
Yeah,
every other time. It's
yeah, for
crazy.
sure. Now I'm gonna go on the negatives too for them because you said this could be their year. And Derek Shelton, I feel like he does this all the time, especially with the Pirates, where they get off these promising starts, these talented teams, and they tail off. Now,
Yeah.
they did just have 2 impressive wins. They swept the Tigers, who have been abysmal, but they played better ball as of late, and they beat the defending American League champions. But to my point of that, if you take a look at their pitching right now, Taj Bradley's looking great. Joe Ryan's looking great. But look at the other 3 in the starting rotation. Simeon Woods Richardson has been a serviceable starter, 4.60 ERA. A lot of strikeouts, a lot of weak contact for him. He's only got 8 strikeouts, 15 and 2/3 innings. So I mean, like he's kind of serviceable in a way. Cody Lyerson, who's came up, pitched to a 4.26 in 6 innings, only 6 innings. But Mick Abel, former top prospect, 13 and a third innings. Dude has just been getting rocked, bro. And
Yeah,
they were looking
good
for
play.
him to step up this year, and he's just been a disappointment. I could see why not the Twins, the Phillies moved on from him a little bit because he stays over the heart of the plate. But who knows? Maybe he, changes up his arsenal. He becomes more comfortable
Yeah.
in the later goings. That could be a huge boost. But dude,
And
take a look
Bailey
at their
Ober's a
bullpen.
terrorist too.
Yeah, take a look
Bailey
at their
Ober's a
bullpen,
straight
dude.
terrorist.
It's cooked. It's meat. So I'm impressed
Yep.
how
Panda. Yeah.
yeah, Banda at a 9, Billy Ober, he's pitching. That's all I have to say. Justin
Bro, like
Topa.
go to the NBA. You're 260. Go to the fucking NBA.
Yeah.
What are you
He's got a
doing?
pretty changeup. Other than that, dude, I don't like
And he
pitching.
throws 92, and he's
Yeah.
6'9". He throws 92.
Yeah.
This is,
But I mean, like, dude, just taking a look at it, Zach Kent's in their bullpen. Like, I don't believe that this is going to continue at all. Maybe
I
things
mean,
change.
Anthony Banda is getting a lot of innings. I think that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I could get a serviceable at bat off of Anthony Banda.
So
I
you
might
tell
be
me,
so like I'll say it because it'll never be proven. So I don't care. I don't have to back it up. But that's how bad he is.
yeah, it'll come off as a Twins hater, but I don't really see them being this good for a long stretch, especially a year coming off a year ago where they sold their entire team. Like, if they're going to
Yeah,
win, they're going to have better bullpen pitching, and they can't rely
and they
on
needed
their
Pablo.
offense. Yeah, exactly. So that's my
They
thing.
needed 60 wins from those three.
For sure. Yeah, they need Pablo back, and he's done. He's cooked. He's bye-bye. But other than that, man, that's all I got on the Twins. Let's hit our guards, and then we'll talk about teams that impressed us for like a minute or two. But let's hit in the guards. Who got absolutely walloped in at Truist Park in Atlanta yesterday, 13-1 on Sunday Night Baseball. I'm impressed by the Atlanta Braves. Both of us very high on them coming into the year. They're 10-6. They've scored a lot of runs off a really good Guardians pitching staff. I know Tanner Bybee looked like dog shit yesterday, but still, I mean, they hit about everybody in this series. So I just want to give a little round of applause to Dom Smith and all the fellas who made me pull out my hair because they were just catching barrels. Mauricio Dubon, like Jorge Mateo, we're gonna give them a claps up. Congratulations to the Atlanta Braves. But dude, let's get in the guards. What do you see out of them? I know they're 9-7. They've went through a gauntlet so far, but dude, you got to feel a little bit better about the way they've been playing since we viewed them in the beginning of the season. Like, dude, they might be like 2-11 coming out of the stretch. What
For
are your
real.
thoughts so far on this early stretch from this Guardians club?
Andre Knott said it best on a telecast. I was listening to Friday, or maybe it was Saturday, and he said like they picked up from where they left off. Like it's felt like this is just a continuation from September. Like they just kept the momentum going, the confidence. A lot of our young guys, even though they don't have the best numbers, they have a lot of experience, a lot of playoff experience at this age. These are guys that have an expectation. There's been an expectation built in Cleveland now that you make the playoffs. So, especially with Voter, like he's gonna get the guys going rolling early. 9-7. I mean, yesterday sucks, and the next run differential is just such a dumb talking point because we lost by 12 or -9. So
Yeah.
right there, you can figure it out. But or we lost by 12. Sorry. So right there, you can figure it out. And it's just great to see the hitting from the bottom of the lineup. And I think when you get that type of production, naturally gives your stars a little time to get going. But, we're not running into like a Mets problem where none of our stars are hitting. Jose, Kwan's been playing fine. DeLauder's been great. Jose's been getting better, and he always makes an impact on the base pad. Manzardo's an unlucky hitter, but he went yard the other day. It's one of those things that it's pretty fun to see a team in Cleveland that has made it look this easy. I know it's a terrible word to use, and I shouldn't use that word because
Mhm.
it's never easy. But the way this whole organization runs and wins is just easy. Very much to the like my dad's had this new job with Progressive for like a year, and he's talked about how great that company is. I mean, I feel like it's funny that there's a correlation. It's Progressive Field because I feel like they're similar to that. They're just a well-ran business. They always have somebody coming up. They always have people ready to produce in short stint situations. Moments never too big for any of these guys, and they don't give up on guys right away, which I love. Like I know he's hurt right now, but seeing Gabe Arias starting to hit the ball a little bit's
Mhm.
great. That's a great addition. Seeing Angel playing the way he is, I know he had a rough game last night, but playing the way he's been lately, letting Hedges come back. I mean, hopefully Bo Naylor can start hitting, but we'll see. Letting Manzardo get his cuts, letting Hoskins start getting more cuts. These guys just you could tell they get guys that love playing the game, but they also play it the right way. So again, this is why the older I get, the more I have to distance myself from, oh, we're this football town. Like this is easily the best 20-year stretch of sports in Cleveland history. I mean, we've been so lucky with the Guardians since we've been alive. Like it's crazy. And right now I feel like we're getting into a pretty comfortable time, which I mean, to be comfortable with playoffs and stuff as a Cleveland fan was never a thing growing up. So this is pretty fun. And I'm excited for them to get going again tonight with the Cardinals. The game yesterday, Sunday Night Baseball as a road team, especially when it's not a divisional game, is always a bitch. So it's
For
like,
sure. Yeah. Mhm.
just get to the next series. You're going to be in St. Louis, closer to home, and then you'll get back for a four-gamer against the Orioles. So I'm just so excited to see this team again. I love this team.
Yeah, they've been playing some really good baseball, and I don't wanna have the public eye take away of how good they've been playing because of the games they played Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
That Braves team is just so good. They're so good,
Yeah,
and right now,
that's what they can
everybody's
do.
getting hot. Ronald Acuna is getting hot. Michael Harris only played the first game, but he was getting hot. Mauricio Dubon, Dom Smith, just like everybody 1 through 9 was hitting for them, so I don't wanna, like, have people think that this is signs to come because it's not. Like you said, I know Martinez, dude, has been very impressive to me, and I like talking about him because he's one of the hardest workers on the ball club by far from what I know. He's batting 310 with 835 OPS, has a homer, stolen 4 bags already. He's been a difference maker. With Jose Ramirez struggling and Steven Kwan starting to get things going, he's been a difference maker. Martinez has taken the role in left field from Kwan when he's moved over to center, and as long I know it doesn't look pretty out there defensively. He's kind of like, you know, be fiendish, like making those unnecessary sliding catches and all that sort of stuff. But dude, he's been a mainstay in a consistency in the offense right now. In the early goings, Chase Delauder, we know, has been historical. Was off the historical pace. Hasn't really slowed down. Is just not homer hitting a lot of home runs. He's just kind of traded that in for doubles right now. He hit two the other night. Jose Ramirez is still struggling a little bit, but he homered on Saturday. He's kind of barreling the ball up more and more, just very unlucky. Look at the metrics. But like you said, dude, Reese Hoskins has been a great addition to the ball club. A guy I was very excited about coming in on a minor league deal this year, had his first home run yesterday. And it's starting to feel like he's getting closer and closer to the Reese Hoskins that ended his tenure in Philadelphia, not the one in
Mhm.
Milwaukee. He looks more comfortable. He's taking a lot of pitches. He's winning a lot of ABS challenges, dude, which I think as a team,
Needed somebody.
yeah, I mean, we're not winning any, but that's huge. And also having him pairing with Manzardo, who's not played really good baseball, like you said, the unluckiest hitter in all of baseball according to the metrics. Homered the other night, but he's now looked pretty up there. He had a hit yesterday, but maybe if he gets going again, I feel pretty good with guys like Juan Brito. Daniel Schneemann looked really good. There's a lot of positivity coming out of Cleveland right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this will happen early in the year. Once we get the like actual order really settled in and
Yeah.
cemented, I think guys are going to know their spots because we hit the ball yesterday. It's just nobody could really get that run. And you know this playing baseball, that happens. Sometimes you have 7 hits on, 5 runs on 7 hits. Sometimes you have 7 hits and 1 run. So, and what I really love with these guys is something that I think Vote does a better job at, just frankly, than Tito when he was here. We are like bottom 10 in strikeouts or top 10 in least amount of strikeouts hitting. I think that's just huge, putting the ball in play for us. Like we can't give away at bats. So if you look at like, I'll give you the batting average of teams that are around the same number of strikeouts. So the top 10 right now, Blue Jays going from 1 to 10. Blue Jays, Rays, Nationals, Braves, Marlins, Padres, Cardinals, Giants, Guardians, Astros. I'm gonna read you the batting average. You tell me which one the Guardians is.
Okay.
42, 260, 272, 274, 249, 227, 224, 242, and 222.
242.
222. We have the lowest batting
Okay.
average, but
I
least
thought it'd be
amount
a
of
little bit higher
strikeouts.
after that Royals game we played.
No, yeah, but what does that tell you though? We're hitting sac flies, we're getting
Yeah.
ground out RBIs, we're moving runners over, we're not wasting at bats. I mean, that was the Reds, bottom 10 right now. 145 strikeouts, Rockies lead the league in 162.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something Tito doesn't care about. And it's
Mhm.
always bothered me. We're walking at a mid-level, which is fine. That's I don't we don't need to be a top um team walking, but I love, 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 love seeing that. And I wish I had like the advanced metrics. I feel like I know yesterday was terrible and probably threw off all the numbers, but I feel like we were really hitting well with runners in scoring position before last night.
Sure, yeah.
I think the boys were tired too. We have not had a lot of home
Mhm.
games. We haven't had a home stretch. I
Yeah,
think
we
the
only
boys are
played
just a
6
little
home games.
tired.
Yeah, w
Yeah.
one of the longest I think we played the 2nd or 3rd most away games so far this year, and
Yeah, us and the
especially the
A's.
teams we've played too, like, you gotta give them credit. But dude, before we end it, I wanna talk a little bit about Parker Messick and how his dominance has been. Want to give his flowers because I don't feel like the national level knows who he is, and we're a national show, but we have, a little bit of our Clevelander in us. But dude, pitching to a .51, right? 17 and 2/3 innings pitch. He's dominated two of the best lineups in baseball right now, according to run differential, whatever, all the metrics, right? The Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. He has continued to dominate those two lineups. I was a little disappointed in Vogt taking him out early. I thought he could go 7, but
Yeah.
man, funky, funky delivery, good fastball, good cutter, just nasty stuff. And honestly, dude, if he continues to pitch like this, you have Gavin Williams, Joey Cantillo, and Bobby got roughed up so bad yesterday. So I'll give him his flowers when he returns to his form because he's not looked really good so far this year. Kind of looks disappointing. But this rotation is one of the best in baseball right now. And this pitching staff, who was one of the best coming into this week for the past 2 weeks, has just been dominant. And guys like Parker Messick have been stars, and Gavin Williams as well. I want to talk, but those are the two guys I want to talk about before we end it, and then hit me.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Dude, I think those 3 is it's just so impressive. I I don't wanna give my opinions on Bibee. I'm not gonna give my opinions on Bibee. I'm gonna close my mouth for another month or 2 and see how he does because I'm really starting to get frustrated with that, but that's a whole 'nother thing.
Yeah.
Gavin's looked great. The walks will come down. I mean, listen, it's like a dude that throws a lot of touchdowns. You're probably gonna have some interceptions. Home run hitters, yeah. I would much rather have Gavin, and I would love to see the disparity of these with 2 outs. I feel like I've watched a lot of Gavin's games this year. A lot of these are probably with 2 outs, nobody on. You gotta look at the situation too. Um, and if you look at our top 3 pitchers, right? Cantillo, Messick, Williams, they all have, if not the same, as many walks as Bibee. So, like,
Mhm,
walks are not, you gotta know, like, how to kind of when to use a walk and when not to, and how to look at it
mhm.
deeper than that. But I mean, the strikeouts from these guys and Parker Messick's just such a bulldog out there, man. He reminds me of like a smaller version of like a David Wells, like just weird
Yeah,
delivery, bigger
yeah.
lefty, big gut. Like I can't wait for him and Tugboat to be up here. Like I just that's gonna be the best. But I honestly think, dude, I know this is crazy. The dude I'm the most impressed with is Cantillo.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Joey C guy. I love a dude that can drop a changeup off the face of the planet. I thought he always had really good stuff. I always saw his stuff really well as a reliever. Last year, I was saying I thought he would be like a great reliever. Just like he had great 2, 3 innings. But now, I mean, he's easily shown that he's a big motherfucker. I didn't realize how big he was, dude. I thought he was like the same size as Messick. He's like 4 inches taller. He's the same weight, but he's like, I didn't realize how big he is. So I always thought he was like smaller, so I don't know if he could continuously go 5, 6 innings, but I mean, he has shown that he's just grown into his body, turning 26 years old too.
Mhm.
Naturally, I mean, as somebody who's 28 right now and you're going to be hitting there in a couple of years, you'll feel yourself kind of fill out too. So that could
Yeah.
help as well. And in a good way in his case. And I mean, dude, and he went at good lineups too. I mean, Seattle, the Cubs, I still think it's a good lineup, but they're
Mhm.
getting there. The Royals, maybe the Royals aren't, but yeah,
Yeah.
I just think like you talked about Taj Bradley with changing eye levels. I think
Mhm.
Joey C's similar guy. It's just fun to watch all these new pitchers, man. It's kind of cool to think like, what if I know this is so out there. This is like so down the line, but what if this is kind of like our next DC Cliff Lee Carmona tandem, these 3 guys, because they're kind of all tied at the hip, similar contracts. Gavin's a little ahead, but it's kind of fun to think about, like, especially like next year. I mean, Messick's competing for the rookie of the year this year. Um,
Yeah.
the way these guys are pitching, they can all be an all-star if they keep pitching like this, and I think this is helping the bullpen a little bit too, because I think our bullpens look good, don't get me wrong, but similar to last year, it just took a minute. I think everybody forgets of how historic 2024 was. Like, that bullpen was so stupid the whole year. Like, that never will
From start
happen
to
again.
finish,
Ever
just
happen
didn't.
again, like I remember last year, everyone was freaking out, and then the second half of the year, we absolutely like, sometimes bullpens just need to get ramped up, and I think Cade's gotta get more comfortable. He'll be fine. I'm not like, I'm
Mhm.
so sick of people telling me about that. Like, I'm just so I don't even pay attention to
Well,
that. That's
that's
just
the one
people's.
thing too. I'll talk to you about that because I have points on Messick and Cantillo, but I think we both already hit it. Cade as a whole, and Cooper's kind of calmed me down on this because I was a little concerned of the walks and sometimes it'll just get hit hard. But like as you said, like it's so hard because he's still new to the closer role. He only had like
Mhm.
16 appearances out of the closer role a year ago, and he hasn't looked terrible. He's given up runs, but he's also done his job. So like I'm not too worried about him anymore after talking about it. But yeah, man, it's like you said, it's just I think we got so used to how dominant Cleveland
Yes.
bullpens were, and then we got the best of the best in 2024, and we just forget how to, like, act, right? We have to it's
Yep.
like, it has to
Yep.
be like once the 6th inning hits, the game's over, and that's not baseball, that's not real
No,
life,
no,
right? We can't
no.
expect that every single year. That's why that team went to the American League Championship Series,
Mm,
but the similarities from this team to that team and I think this team could honestly be better with the offense
I
they have.
agree. I
This pitching
completely agree.
rotation as well, it's just a lot of similarities.
And I love the point, you just made of I think bullpens, their job, everyone thinks will close games, right? Win games. I think the opposite. I think it's about minimizing the amount of losses you contribute to the team.
It's
That
management.
should be your
Oh, man.
job as it's management, right?
Mhm.
It's don't make one error turn into three. It's
Mm,
like Cade Smith, right? Give up your solo shot. Okay, we're back. 3-2 game. I need to get the next three outs. Like, I don't really need the best ERA for my closer. If you have a good save percentage, and I know saves. Oh God, oh that old school baseball. This guy's
yeah.
fucking putting chew in and smoking cigs on the bench, man. This is 1940s baseball. But like these fucking dorks all say this shit, and it's the only stat that directly that and wins as a starting
Correlates
pitcher
to
or
wins.
that correlates, right? So I think Cade and they'll build his confidence, man. These guys love each other. These guys love being in the being in the locker room together, being in the dugout together, being in the bullpen together. And like you said, the offensive invasion we have from these rookies. I mean, we still have guys like Valera that are coming back.
Yeah.
You never know if Ralphie Velasquez is going to touch some MLB ball this year. It's very possible. I love Bazana, but I don't need to see him this year. I'm in opposite camp. Let him. He's such an important piece that you cannot fuck up his development. You cannot Jackson Holiday him. When he is up, he needs to be up. He
To be,
cannot
yeah,
touch the
for real.
minors again. So be ultra safe, be ultra sure. We did it with Frankie. It worked out perfectly fine. You know, it's one of those things that I think they're treated a lot like Frankie, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Luckily, we have enough hitting
I
everywhere
agree
else,
with
and Brito's such a good second baseman that in
you.
the
Mhm.
shortstop aspect. And I'll tell you what, or the switch hitting aspect is great. And I'll tell you what, I know this is people will rip me to shreds. We're 50 and 30. It's July.
Mhm.
You can go get a guy with 4 years of control, and Dazan is the person you have to give up. I'm not center fielder, starting pitcher, whoever you want to say. You might be in a situation where you think about it. I'm not saying you pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So don't ruin his value when you don't really need him right now. You don't,
Mhm.
and it's beautiful. Like, don't rush that. It's like Jordan Love at quarterback with the Packers. Like, don't rush it when you don't need it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm very like proud of how Vogt has he's kept the roots of the Guardians, right? At the end of the day, this is very similar to but he has changed and nicked the things we needed to focus on so much. Slow starts, striking out, that Tito just didn't give a shit about. So I love that he's just running new guys a lot. I love that because it kind of does build that, like, you have to perform. So I love that, and sometimes
Mhm.
Tito would get guys a little too comfortable. So all in all, just so happy with how this season's starting. I know this is going to be a A-plus start to the year. I don't know if you look at the schedule, how else you could put that together. You know, it's your first run of the year, and it's a marathon. That's basically how it was for them. So love this team. Love how it's looking. Can't wait for the Cardinals game tonight.
Absolutely, man. One last thing, we'll spend a minute on it. How impressed have you been overall? And I'll talk on this a little bit too. The start of Major League Baseball, the competitiveness. We talked about the NBA before the show, how, other leagues, it seems like that the lack of parity hasn't been the same. College football is starting to be more parity level, especially Indiana winning national championship, but especially the MLB. Other than the Dodgers, excuse me, uh, are like just controlling their own destiny and kind of looking like a cakewalk to win their division. Actually, I'll take that back because San Diego already has 10 wins too, and they're only like a game back. But you get my point. Like
Yeah,
they're that the Dodgers are that good. They'll find a way to win. But to my point, man, it feels like this year is more competitive than ever.
absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah, this is one of those things that the competitiveness in baseball is huge. At the end of the day, you see it with the NBA and the NFL. The NFL is a quick league. It's 4 months, 17 games. A lot of people can tune in for a couple weeks for a season, and then they're out, right? What's the one thing
Mhm.
about baseball? It's a grind. Basketball, even NBA season, it's a grind. Goes all the way from October to June. The one thing you need, and we talked about this before with like hockey fans, you need groups of people that one, they gotta love the sport if you're playing this much. And two, they have to feel like they're a part of it. And when you're constantly trying to win, your fans feel a part of something. You don't
Yeah,
have to win all the time, but it makes you feel like you're a part of something when you're trying to put that effort towards it. Because you're gonna get if you respect the game of baseball, the game will respect you back and give you some wins. So I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of teams are in that win mode and starting to go forward. And I think the Dodgers almost being so good almost helps because everyone's like, well, now it's like kind of one team to beat. So now everybody's like, well, it's only for a series. You could beat anybody in a series. Blue Jays were a half an inch away from doing it, and I really don't think they're that great of a team, like all in all, compared to other teams that have been in the World Series. So it's just kind of nice to see the levelization of like talent, and then also just good, consistent baseball because how you're going to build fans is having good regular seasons. I don't care what anybody says. You can have the best playoffs of all time. It's like a UFC card. Anybody can go watch a main event. Anybody can go watch the co-main event and say, "Man, this is great." But you're not a real fan unless you're watching those prelims and the mid card. You're
Yeah.
not a real fan unless you're watching in June, man. When it's like the old meme that's like, it's the guy he goes, well, my team loses one of 16 football games. Oh, dang it, guys. We'll get them next week. My team blows a June 8th baseball match, baseball game in, the middle of the summer. And he's going, it's
Yeah.
bullshit. Like, that's how it should be. Like, we are so irrationally stupid as baseball. Like, there will be a June day, I know, in my group chat with my buddies where we will start ripping apart somebody. I mean, just somebody. Just,
I've
just
already
how it is as a
started doing
baseball fan.
that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm ripping Hunter Gaddis and he hasn't even pitched yet. Why? I don't know. It's just this is what
Yeah.
you do as a baseball fan, but you love them all. It's just a big family. When you get like that's why I think the tribe gets so much back out of Cleveland and I know like the whole tickets thing, whatever. That's because Cleveland's just Cleveland. But like people love this team, and especially my age, because they give so much back to us. Like
Yeah.
they constantly put stuff into the stadium. They constantly have new events. Like
Mhm.
that makes us feel like when I go to Progressive Field, I don't even feel like I'm going into like MLB. I feel like it's home. Like I feel like I'm going into church. Like it's
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
the third
Yeah.
most comfortable spot in the world for me. And it's surrounded by 35,000 people. So I think a lot of teams are going back to old school baseball
Mhm.
and creating that feel and seeing the game for what it's worth, man. Like back in the day when there was no ground balls and everyone was like the what was launch
Yeah.
angle. I remember in college I was like the biggest thing. Like, can you imagine not seeing Connor Griffith make a diving play or like that's
Yeah, like, that is a thing too that in that portion of baseball for a while took away from the game, right? There's just so many weak fly balls, and I'm sure that's why, like I mean, we got to see more home runs, cool, but, like, also we didn't get to see a lot of good hitting. Like,
yes,
it's
yeah,
it
hitting,
took away
yeah,
the art of a hitter, right? To slap dick, slap the ball the other way on a 2 strike count right between the short and third, like, it took away that, part of the
Brad
game.
Miller, no gloves, Brad Miller hitting 30 some home runs with a
Yeah.
190 average. I'll never
Mhm.
forget that.
Yeah.
That is the NBA right now. That is like,
Mhm.
no, okay, you're gonna be pissed because this is the first name that came into my head, and I'm sorry, Ohio State basketball. Shout out to Gabe Cupps. Bryce Sensabaugh should not be getting 20 points a game in the
No,
NBA.
not at all.
And I love Bryce, but like that's how I feel like
Yeah.
the NBA is now. Like you're gonna look back in this couple year stretch of the NBA, like those years in baseball. You're like, Brad Miller hit almost 40 home runs.
Yeah.
What? Like, there's just, and that's how it happens in sports. You go through those things.
All of it's trial and error, but I'm excited how this year's been playing. Obviously, I think the way they've grown the game more and the stats prove it itself. If you look, like MLB Big Inning, dude, like it's free. If you just go on, you just download the MLB app or MLB Up at app, whatever on TV, you can watch all like 4 games they'll show consistently all the time, and it's great. It's awesome. If you don't have MLB Network, get it. It's worth it. But dude, like they do a good job promoting the game.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, they did a horrible job of promoting the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Terrible.
when Lindor first came up, they didn't even fucking talk about it until we made the World Series. Everybody didn't know who he was until, like, the middle of 2017, it felt like, for
Hmm.
me, like, outside of Cleveland, because he did so well in the postseason. But, like,
And I
the
love the end
marketing on
baseball.
yeah, the marketing they've done for Connor Griffin's been great, like, even
Yeah.
before he got called up, like, they're already promoting the next stars, like and they get hate for it, like, the way they did Tatis is, like that was, like, the first guy they finally started promoting before he even made his major league debut. So, I wanna give, like, shout out to Major League Baseball for doing that, like, you're making a fan's life more exciting and wanting to tune in, like, for Jackson Holliday's, like, major league debut, remember that, in
Hmm.
Fenway Park, right? Everybody tuned in for that.
Yep.
Steven Strasburg's, like, they've done,
Yep.
like, a few of those, but, like, it feels like more often, right? Like, Connor Griffin, Paul Skeens, Jackson Holliday, Travis Bazzana eventually will have his moment like that. Chase Lotta for Cleveland, I think, was different, right? It was a playoff game, and that was, like, the biggest storyline within that series for a little bit. So that's why a lot of people probably knew him, before this year. But, like, I just feel like MLB is promoting and like you said, they're more comfortability of going in there Um, I'm sure, like, as a Yankees fan, you're more excited to go into, your stadium to watch your team, and you're more well, I know they're winning all the time, but you get what I mean, right? Like, you're more, like, attuned to go in to the
Yes.
ballpark and watch your team now these days because of the coverage, because of, podcasts that like us and all the other ones around are like, there's so much more covering baseball and more people are more informed that they wanna go and see this product.
Yeah, and the past 2 WBCs have helped so much. I think those are just great marketing tools for them. And at the end of the day, like this is America's game, man. Like there's a
Mhm.
reason this game has lasted so long. All kids grow up playing baseball for the most part. It's like soccer and baseball. It's like pretty
Yeah.
much the two things. And I'm not really gonna let this and you, this is a whole other conversation. I'm not gonna open up, but I'm not gonna let people how people talk about youth baseball right now affect how I think of pro baseball. I
Yeah.
think I think
Totally
all that
different.
bullshit I think all
Mhm.
that bullshit gets funneled out by college for the most part nowadays. I think people think youth baseball is more bullshit, but I don't think I think people just see the headlines people talk about. I think if you go to the right states, the right I know that's wherever you live, but the right programs, you learn the game the right way. I
Yeah,
literally
it's
had a
all
kid
about
that
finding
I've
the right
known that yeah,
organization.
I found a kid I knew a kid for years that I worked with his what was wife now and he's in the Brewers organization. Didn't play at the highest travel, but played in really good travel teams, good or like,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
does.
it's not about chasing the flash, it's about building substance for yourself. So it's just beautiful to see where the game's at. Like comparing it to other sports, like the way young kids still play it now, I really like watching. Like you see these prospect games in spring training, the way
Mhm.
like Connor Griffith, the way he goes about at 19 years old, man,
So mature.
he's more mature maybe than I am, and I
Yeah,
hate saying
probably.
that,
Probably
but
me too.
like, yeah, and I'm 10 years older, damn near, so, it's just like and I think it's just a kudos to a lot of these young guys, man, and I think you see it a lot, and I'm not turning this into, like, a faith podcast, but, like, a lot of
Mhm.
these young athletes now, they mention faith and whatever they
Yeah.
believe in a lot, and I
Mhm.
think you've seen that with Ohio State's football team a couple years ago, and a lot of these new kids that, they grew up with all this bullshit from day one.
Mhm.
They weren't brought into social media like I was at 13, 14 kind of, or you at like 7, 8 years old. Like they probably had Snapchat at 3 years old, some of these kids, man,
Yeah.
and like
Mhm.
5 years old. But like I think it's a lot about cutting out the bullshit now. And I think that's why you see these young kids just looking more mature than ever. It's kind of the saying soft times creates tough men. I think
Mhm.
the soft times of athletes right now are going to create a lot of these tough dudes that are just ballers, man. And like Connor Griffin, it's like, yeah, call me up, man. Like you signed
Yeah.
this 9-year contract. Guess how you're gonna be my age when you're up. You can sign another 10-year one.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's
they get him for half
textbook.
of his prime, dude. Like, he'll be 29.
Yes.
So, like,
Yeah.
that's cool that these kids are doing that, and I I did a whole video on middle of the order. If you wanna check it out, I'll put the, description underneath. But, man, like, a lot of people have been, you know, shocked that, like, kids are doing this. I'm like, well, if you look at the '90s, like the Indians did it a lot. If you look at the Rockies, they did it when they had Dan O'Down as their general manager. The White Sox did it, but it's kind of been more often, right? We've seen Jackson Churio sign these contracts, so it feels like some of these kids are, I don't, not to say like mature. I feel like 12% of these prospects are mature and know what they want and know that they could get the resources and stuff they need to grow their careers and all that sort of stuff, for your point. But yeah, man, it's just cool to see.
And the brands they can get, like Roman Anthony signed this. Acuna is like the first one I remember that signed something like this.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
bargain, dude.
but do you know what it does? And I love the dude. Frankie, I still am waiting for Frankie to have that MVP type year. I know he had a
Mhm.
great year last or 2 years ago. Dude, it gets in your head. You're when you sign that, like Roman Anthony and these guys can breathe. They don't have to worry about this for 9 years. And especially when you sign it when you're 20, 21, even 24,
Yeah.
33, you can still sign a big 5-year contract to be a DH somewhere. You can always, especially as a hitter, like Connor Griffin, he'll probably DH his last 4 or 5 years and
Yeah.
still be a stud, or move to first or third or whatever. Besides the point, like I think a lot of these guys just understand like what's 100 million to 200 million. I need to get my game to that level first. Once I get to that level, and everybody looks at it like, oh man, what if he's an MVP and he only gets paid 30 million, 20 million a year? It's like Well, okay, but he's building towards that big contract. Like, that
For
helps
sure.
establish that next contract because 'cause they'll say 3 years ago he was an MVP, you know? So,
Mhm.
too many people nickel and dime shit. I think Jose was a perfect example, Acuna was a perfect example, Roman Anthony's doing it now. I would love the Tribe to do it with the water. I
Yeah.
would love that. I
I'd
would
like to see
love
him
that.
do it
I
with the
think
Sauna too, once he
I would love
fully
that,
developed.
yeah, because, basically you're gonna get 2, 3 years extra of what arbitration would be, which is
Mhm.
great for the team. If we really can't afford you, we'll always trade you that last year. But, you get to be a baseball player for 7 years. That's a
Mhm.
very stressful guys, people fans don't listen to players enough in general.
Yeah,
Players talk about how stressful Trevor Bauer said how stressful arbitration was, how
it is,
annoying that is, and
because they
to
market your value without, like,
yeah.
think about that. Your employer is, like, marketing your value of what they think rather than what actually.
Vacation Island. It's like, "Hey, I have a"
Yeah, it's like,
like,
well,
crazy.
MLB says you should be getting 30,000,000, Tarek Skubal, but we think you're only worth 18. That's like, man, fuck you. I just won 2 back-to-back
Yeah.
Cy Youngs. Like that's why all these guys
Yep.
hold out. But other than that, I think how the way he handled it was awful. But uh a lot of these guys too, like and that's a perfect example. Like it is stressful for them because like it's not fair that they have to one, like, have to deal with ownership being, and it goes both ways, right? Being cheap and, like, not
Yep.
willing to, like, pay actual market value and give these guys the resources they need. It's only a few organizations. Like, I shit on Paul Dolan a lot, but he at least he gives these players resources. He doesn't give them money,
Mm.
but he gives them great facilities in Cleveland and a great ballpark to play in. A lot of these owners don't, right? Paul Nutt at least Bob Nutting now is spending money to